All right, everyone, this is 6.6 Trapezoids and Kites. For the do now, if you want to pause it, give it a shot on your own, all I want you to do is fill out this diagram or this tree diagram of quadrilaterals that we used the other day. Now, there's a few more that are implemented in this picture as opposed to the one we've had from 2 classes ago, but that's just because they're including what we're learning today. So on the top, we have our quadrilateral. If it has 2 pairs of parallel sides, we call those parallelograms. But if it only has 1 pair of parallel sides, we call it a trapezoid. Now, underneath parallelograms, we have our rectangles, we have our rhombuses, and we have our squares. Okay? Now, under trapezoid, we have a new one that we'll learn today called isosceles trapezoid. And if a quadrilateral has no pairs of parallel sides, we literally call those in the exact shape of what it looks like, and that is a kite. Now, a trapezoid, okay, is a quadrilateral with 1 pair of parallel sides. Go ahead and jot that definition down and also mark the parallel sides with arrows on the trapezoid itself. Bases are the parallel sides of the trapezoid. So I'm going to label this base, and the bottom I'm going to label the base. Your legs are the non-parallel sides of the trapezoid. So I'm going to go ahead and mark leg and leg. Feel free to pause and get those definitions. Now, when we have a trapezoid, okay, there's something called base angles, and those are the 2 angles that share a base of a trapezoid. So remember, here's our parallel sides, here's our base, here's another base, and our base angles, I'm going to mark them in blue, okay? Here's 1 pair of base angles, here's a 2nd pair of base angles. And as always, using our definitions from the previous page, we have our legs, which are the non-parallel sides on the left and the right. An isosceles trapezoid is a trapezoid with congruent legs. So in this case, we can show that the legs are congruent by marking them with tick marks. So this is an isosceles trapezoid. So all that means, congruent legs, the legs are the same length. So here's our first theorem. If a quadrilateral is an isosceles trapezoid, then each pair of base angles is congruent. So make sure you get that word congruent in your notes. So if TRAP is an isosceles trapezoid with the bases of RA and TP, then the base angles are congruent, which means angle T is congruent to angle P, and angle R is congruent to angle A. So fill those in. Finding angle measurements. CDEF is an isosceles trapezoid, and the measure of angle C, which is right here, is 65 degrees. What is the measure of angle D, E, and F? Well, we just learned that base angles are congruent, so this is going to be 65. So angle F, angle F equals 65 degrees. Now, we have to do a bit of solving. We have an angle here and angle D are called consecutive angles. So they add up to 180. So angle D plus 65 equals 180. Just minus 65 on both sides, and angle D is equal to 180 minus 65 gives you 115 degrees. Now, since angle D is 115, it is a base angle with E, meaning they're the same. So angle E is also 115 degrees. In the diagram, PQRS is an isosceles trapezoid, and the measure of angle R is 106. Let me change this color up from red. So here's 106. What are the measures of angle P, Q, and S? Well, S is going to be the same. It's going to be 106. They share, right? So the angle S is congruent to angle R, so angle S is 106 degrees. Again, we have these consecutive angles with Q and R. They need to add up to 180. So angle Q plus 106 equals 180. Subtract 106 on both sides, And angle Q is equal to 180 minus 106, which is 74 degrees. If angle Q is 74, that means that angle P is also going to be 74 degrees. Theorem 6-21. If a quadrilateral is a trapezoid, then the midsegment is parallel to the base. So make sure you fill in parallel in your notes. The length of the midsegment is half of the sum of the lengths of the bases. Okay. Your other definition here, the midsegment of a trapezoid, segment joining the midpoints of the legs. So these spots right here are your midpoints of those legs, and they connect to each other to create a midsegment. Okay. QR is the midsegment of trapezoid LMNP. What is X? So if we go back, it says the midsegment is half the sum of the lengths of the bases. So we're going to do 1/2 parentheses, the sum of the bases. So I'm going to add 4x minus 10 plus 8. And that's going to equal x plus 2. Now we can simplify in here, keep the 1/2, keep the 4x, and I can simplify this. 8 minus 10 is -2, right? And that's going to equal x plus 2. So if we distribute, 1/2 times 4x is 2x. 1/2 times -2 is -1. So 2x plus 1 equals 2x minus 1 equals x plus 1. Subtract x on both sides, and we get x minus 1 equals 1. Add 1 on both sides, and x equals 2. Okay, so if we were to plug in, this becomes 2 plus 2, which is 4. And we get 4 times 2 minus 10, which is 8 minus 2, which is -2, which I don't like. Okay. As we move on, a kite is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of consecutive sides congruent and no opposite sides congruent. Okay, so make sure you fill in this definition on your notes. Okay. Here's your theorem. If a quadrilateral is a kite, then its diagonals are perpendicular. And remember, perpendicular means 90-degree angles. Okay. Which they show right in here. What are the measures of angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3? So angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. Okay. Now, we just said in the rules that it creates 90-degree angles at that intersection. So angle 1, we know right off the bat, is 90 degrees. If angle 3 is right here, then angle 3 and angle 52 degrees are the same. So 3 is 52 degrees. Last, if you look at this triangle, we have angle 1, which is 90, plus 52, plus angle 2. So angle 2 plus 90 plus 52 equals, and that shape is a triangle, so 180. Angle 2 plus 142 equals 180. Subtract 142 on both sides, and angle D, oops, that should say angle 2. Is equal to 180 minus 42 is 38 degrees. Okay. Your exit slip, again, you're going to half the sum of the bases. Now 8x we can write. 10 minus 12 is negative 2. Okay. And that's going to equal 2x plus 11. Multiply by a half. Half of 8x is 4x. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. And that equals 2x plus 11. Minus 2x on both sides. And we get 2x minus 1 equals 11. Add 1 on both sides. 2x equals 12. And divide by 2, and we find that x equals 6. Okay. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to submit your work.